Welcome back to the Recreate the Future podcast. Today we have a site or a marketplace with us, and who basically everyone in the 3D printing field knows. And I'm really happy to have Mikolas from the Prusa team with us, who's taking care of Printables. But maybe at best, give us a brief intro about you and what you're doing, Mikolas.
Hi, thanks for having me. So I work at Prusa Research. We are a 3D printer manufacturer founded by Joseph Prusa. Our printers are open source, and we do all sorts of stuff from the printers themselves, but also we manufacture filaments. We develop the firmware, we make Slicer, Prusa Slicer, and we run Printables. It's kind of wide, it's all connected, and I guess that's good. It just makes sense as soon as you're deep into 3D printing to try to remove all the unknowns. And it just turned out that, it's best to do it ourselves when we are not happy with something. So that's kind of how we ended up doing so many things, I guess. And my position at the company is kind of wide. I do a lot of the marketing. I do the promo videos for our printers. But also I'm a sort of product manager for Prusa Slicer. I'm not coding or anything or managing the team, but I'm talking with the project manager about the heading of Prusa Slicer and the features and how the users will use the feature. And yeah, on Printables.com, I'm in charge of the brand partnerships. So that's a project I'm very passionate about, and I'm happy how that's going. I'm sure we'll get to that in a second. So that's kind of the summary, but it's nice and diverse. I do a lot of things, and that's fun because it's not the same thing every day.
Yeah. Thanks so much for the brief intro. Thanks for taking the time, first of all. So I think we got to know each other through the brand section of Printables.
That's right.
As with Enable 3D, we are proud and really happy to contribute. I think 3 brands. Meanwhile, I think Inbus, Wiesemann, and newly launched Flex.
Yes.
On the brand section, and we're going to come to that. But so maybe for those people not so deep into the hardware side, maybe give us a brief overview of like what Prusa is, or like what the Prusa printers are known for, and like where you position yourself in the market.
So going all the way back when Joe Prusa was a young student, it's really funny how it all started. He was DJing with his brother, and they wanted to make custom knobs and faders for their DJ sets. And Joe stumbled on the RepRap project. The patents for 3D printers have just expired, and Dr. Adrian Boyer from the University of Bath started the RepRap project. The idea that a 3D printer can make physical objects. So what if it could 3D print another 3D printer? Joe picked up the project, he made a printer, and he saw that it's kind of complicated. So he started improving the printer. And fast forward, people were asking Joe if he can share his version. I mean, he was sharing it was open source, but if Joe can print it for them. And this just sort of kept going. Joe and Michael founded a company because they were, shipping more and more stuff. And then the first employees came. Then there was sort of the big milestone was the first kit. So, back then, 3D printers, it was either you're paying hundreds of thousands of dollars or you are soldering and you are really deep into making it yourself. It's not very user-friendly. So the first original Prusa kit was nicely in the middle. It was fairly inexpensive, like $700-800. But there was no soldering. Everything had connectors. There was nice manual. You put it yourself together in one afternoon, and in the end, you have nice working machine. So that's kind of how it started. All our printers are still open source because we're from the RepRap project. We do a lot of things that are not open source too. It's just I don't want to say not compatible, but just some things we do, some things not, where it makes sense. But yeah, the community is still very much at the heart of our company. Joe has the open hardware Open Hardware logo tattooed on his hand to never forget about our roots. And yeah, now it's 800 people company. At one point, we were the fastest tech growing company in the Central Europe region, according to Deloitte. And yeah, it's just open source 3D printers. Yeah. How are they positioned? They are easy to repair. They are extremely reliable. We don't really go for aesthetics first. Yeah. Really, it's functionality first. So
I always, we have five of them here, and we always refer to them as the workhorses.
Yes, that's a word we like to hear. Workhorse, exactly. How our marketing is basically people who've been using our printers telling everyone else that the printer is just so darn reliable, and then they should get it. That's actually how we get to a lot of companies. A company would have some extremely expensive printer, and then one of the engineers will have an original Prusa at home. And one day he will bring a print to the office, and everyone will be like, "What did you print this on? This looks so much better." And he just brings the printer with his hand, and then often the company ends up ordering like 20 printers because they are so affordable, and just every engineer will have a printer on their table. For example, they are in an industry where they need to print from metal, so they will prototype from plastic on our printers, and then in the end, when they are happy, they will print the last iteration on the super expensive metal 3D printer, but they can just iterate so much faster, and it is so reliable that what I do very, very often is I start the print when I leave the office, and every morning is like little Christmas. There's a print waiting for you, and you can just start your day with the finished print and keep working on the latest iteration of the project you're working on.
Yeah, nice. Thanks for the overview. I think that summarizes it really well. When we were looking for printers, we have some different types, and we have different ones for different applications. But for example, for all our prototyping we're always doing it on the Prusa ones, because they're very fast, reliable, and basically gives us what we need for that one. We were always distributing our Enable 3D designs on all of the platforms. And suddenly we saw there's a new one rising up on the horizon, and this was Printables. And maybe explain this, because it was not that long ago, right?
No, not at all. So the site itself, Joe had prusaprinters.org. That was the old domain name. And that was the community place where Joe would share everything he's doing with open source printers and firmware and slicer. And in 2019, we used the existing domain and we launched the first version of a 3D model database. So that's 4 years ago, but it was very much under the radar. So I would say Prusa printer owners would learn about it, but that's probably about it. So it was kind of small. In hindsight, this was a genius move. We would like to take credit for it, but it was just a kind of a coincidence that it was natural to use that domain at the time. But then the site, kept growing, and the name became sort of a problem in a way that people were asking, I don't have a Prusa printer. Can I use the site? And we were like, yes, of course. So it was clear that name change was needed. So that was last year. We renamed it to Printables.com. I think the name is very fitting. I'm very happy we were able to get the domain. So now with that name, it's these questions just disappeared. Everyone, we spread the messaging that from the beginning the site was meant for everyone. So yeah, that's kind of I think understood now.
I think there is a small Prusa research logo in the top, but I think people understand that it's open for all printers.
Just like on Thingiverse, there's also I think it's actually big MakerBot Thingiverse, but everybody just sees Thingiverse. That's just
yes, yeah. All right. So if you would have asked me if this can be a success, I would have said no, because I normally know that marketplaces are the worst business model to launch, because you always have like a two-sided problem, because if you don't have inventory in terms of designs, you don't have users. If you don't have users, nobody's going to contribute the designs. So how did you get it to start?
So I guess the fact that we are, very well known in the 3D printing industry, and we had a lot of good relationships with designers because they had our printers, was a great help. So even before we launched it, any designer we told them about the project, they were excited that, wow, somebody will actually try to dethrone the existing go-to site, because it was in really not a great state at the time. So even for the launch, we got some great designers, and yeah, I guess then the Prusa community, kickstarted it because they would learn about it. So, and the community is very active and very enthusiastic about 3D printing, 3D modeling, and tinkering and everything. So the database got into a really nice, like, that's what I meant about it being a genius idea in hindsight, but that it was not the plan. That by the time we renamed it to Printables.com, it was full of awesome models. It was not big, but the quality of the models was extremely high. The signal to noise ratio was great. So when someone learned about Printables.com and they would visit the site, they would be like, "Wow, where did this come from? It's full of content." It was not incredibly huge. It was not 10 years of accumulated content, but the content was nice. So I think that was very, very good that when people tried it, I think, we naturally are a bit skeptical about new things. And when you give something a shot, the first impressions matter a lot. So if you try it and it's just bad, it's slow, you just maybe will not try it for years again until you give it another shot. But our focus was just making it super fast, and just listening to the feedback of the users and adding the functions that people asked for. So by the time we renamed it, there were 2-3 years of improvements of features that people wanted. So I think that helped a ton. That by the time people tried it, it was in pretty good state.
I think as of now, it's very comparable to Thingiverse on the point that it's free designs for everyone to use, and there's a certain Creative Commons attribution, or like everybody's giving a certain Creative Commons license and says what can be done with it. So, and then most recently, I saw that you are now launching a subscription. So, what will be my benefits if I start paying for that? Because I know that commercializing inventory of 3D printing designs can be very hard. So just to give you an example, we once made a test. All the enabled 3D designs are for free, and we started charging 99 cents, and our conversion rate dropped by 90%.
Yeah.
So therefore, I'm super curious to understand how your subscription is going to work.
We thought about it for incredible amount of time. It was something we talked about even when we were launching Printables for the first time, or even Prusa printers, the site, for the very first time. It was something we discussed a lot. So the thing that we don't like is when I search for something, I find it, and I kind of expect it to be free because the rest of the stuff is free, and the thing that I find is not. And I think, I'm not sure why, because, if I were to think about it rationally, it would make a ton of sense for me to just pay for it because it will save me, a lot of time. But even I don't think that way. I'm just a bit put off. I feel like cheated on that, they put all this free content there, and then when I find exactly what I'm looking for, I have to pay. So we, from the beginning, we're heading in the direction that if we are to be the number one, site for finding 3D models, generally the content there has to be like the free site where that everything you find, you can just download. You don't even have to be logged in. You can be in anonymous window. We don't care. You can just download it. So then how do we let designers make living doing what they love in this model? So the best, we talked, what we did, we talked to them. That's just how we approach it. We talked to the designers, and a thing that came up over and over and over again was that they have some kind of service where their fans can support them and they get something in return. So that's very much how we are, we are doing our best to phrase it that way, that the transaction is primarily you are supporting the designer. You are not like buying something. Of course, the transaction is both ways, but the motivation should be, I love this person, I love what they're doing, I wish they had more time to do it, but of course they have to do their job and everything, and they only do this in their free time. So what if they could do it full time? So that's what we're trying. Oh, full time. Okay. What if they could spend more time on it? Maybe they keep their job, but they have some nice extra income.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's why we ended up with our solution, which is like monthly donate to a specific designer, and then you get something in return. It won't necessarily have to be models. We saw that some designers, some creators and artists, they have everything for free, and still they have hundreds and thousands of people donate them monthly. So that's an interesting approach, right? Like, why would the people pay them if they can get everything for free?
I know, because on some marketplaces you have this PayPal donate button.
Yeah.
And sometimes, when I do the accounting, I go through everything. I go through the bank reports and also to our PayPal statement. And then sometimes I see some small transactions, and then always the accountant is asking, "What is that?" And I say, "Oh yeah, it's got to be a donation or something."
Somebody liked what we're doing and they just gave us money. I don't want to say for nothing, but just they didn't have to.
As an appreciation.
It's an appreciation.
It's really nice. All right, so if I'm now a designer, how can I already benefit from the program?
So we are just about to launch a closed beta. So we want to make sure that, we did calls with the designers and we shared with them the design drawings and everything, but it's a different experience when you actually get to use it. So it will not be visible to the public yet, and the designers will get to start trying it, setting up their profile and everything. And I'm sure we will find a couple of things that we need to fix before the release, or improve, or change, or add something new. But yeah, I don't know when this will be released, but I think it's very possible that by the time this is out, the program is launched. So on your profile, you will have your free models, and then you will be able to give benefits to the users who decide to support you. And the benefits are really up to you. We wanted to give the maximum flexibility to the users because different users, different designers have different way of doing things. So for example, you can be doing polls just for your supporters, get their feedback. You can be sharing some behind the scenes or things you're working on just with your community. And then by the time it's finished, maybe you will release it to everyone. You can also give early access to your models. So we have a switch where you can release a model just for your supporters, but maybe after a month you will release it to everyone. So if there's something that's trending, your supporters will get it right away, and people will print it, share it, other people will see it, and they will visit your profile. And if they want it early, they can support you. If they are okay waiting a little bit, they can get it later.
Okay, so I absolutely understand it, and I think this is a very popular concept. Meanwhile, like when some content creators move away from Instagram to other platforms with a subscription where they can provide additional content. So I do see it makes absolutely sense. And the interesting question here for me is now, where does it fit into the ecosystem? Because this is so crazy about Prusa that you have basically you have the machine, you have the material, you have the software, and then now you also have the content. Will there be a time where this will be like a closed ecosystem, or how important is it for you to basically close, not close the system, but to be like a perfect circle where everything fits together? Because this is like one of the major hurdles of 3D printing to non-tech savvy users, that it's still quite complicated in many ways.
So, we come from the community, we come from the Repra project, and everything we do is, very tied up to our community and the 3D printing community. So I can't imagine us closing the circle, or closing, for example, Printables. But what we like to do, for example, Prusa Slicer, it's open to everyone. You can use it with any machine whatsoever. But of course, it's our team of like 10 full-time developers working on it, every day. So naturally, we get to do some, the priorities. We pick the priorities based on the community feedback, but also based on what we are working on. So if we are working on a machine, we will, add features that really like complement it. And that's like, I guess, sort of like the team that like there will be some nice extra features if you are in the ecosystem, but everything is still open to everyone. In fact, like other manufacturers can even, usually like see how we do it and integrate it as well. But if you are in the ecosystem, like if you're using Prusa Slicer, there is now a button on Printables, and with one click, it will take the model and open it in Prusa Slicer.
Yeah.
It downloads it in the
That's really nice.
And it's just so quick and so convenient. And if you can use any other slicer, but if you're using Prusa Slicer, we have the control. We develop both things, so we are able to do these really nice integrations, which are just very convenient to use. And we can't do it with another slicer because we would have to email them and like ask them, can you please do it this way? And they have other priorities. They are developing their thing for their goals. So yeah.
All right. I think I see where the benefits are going there, and still hope from my side as a feedback that everything will get much more complicated, while still being able to do this perfect adjustments and still keeping the customization. But okay, let's switch to my favorite topic. Brands on printables. The nice thing is that I have never seen it anywhere among other marketplaces. So maybe can you give us a brief overview of what it is and why you have implemented it? Because currently you're the only ones.
That's my favorite subject too. Really, it's what makes me excited when I wake up in the morning and I'm going to the office and I have a call with a brand. I'm always just so pumped up about this. So the idea came up on a team building, and really the vision is that in a few years I have a product at home, a washing machine, a coffee maker or something, and a plastic part breaks. It's so annoying because the machine is obviously 99% of it is fine, and like a knob on or something cracks because it's old, it was in the sun or something. And I would so love to just search that the machine on Printables and see official files from the manufacturer, and I can just 3D print it and replace it, and the product is fixed. At the same time, I watch a ton of movies. I love the movie industry. I play games. I would love to have my favorite, objects from my favorite video game that I'm currently playing, or from the movie that's currently airing. I would love to have the print at home official things from that universe.
Yeah, I absolutely get it. And I, when I've been doing my bit of research yesterday, I saw that you have a new brand on the section, and this is Paramount Pictures. And now you've got to explain to me how you get Paramount Pictures on the platform so I can improve my own sales game.
How crazy is that? Yeah, I think it's been, it's always hard to start these things. I had a presentation, I was doing calls with the companies, but it was not live, and they're like, so what other companies do you have? And I'm like, well, you're one of the first I'm talking to. and they're a bit skeptical, like, we're not.
I know that discussion.
Yeah, right. We're not so sure about releasing our IP to the public for free, and I 100% understand why they are like at least questioning it a little bit, like how's this gonna work? What about licensing and all this stuff? But yeah, now that it's going, it's like a snowball a little bit, right? Because when you have a discussion with another brand who might be interested, you get to show them, look, there are these brands.
Yeah.
And whenever they have a question, you can just, 99% of the time now, you can just say, look how they did it. And you can pretty much follow their steps. So, for example, don't, if you're selling something that's important for your revenue, of course, keep selling it. But if there's like Noctua has they have adapters for their fans. Their business is selling the fans. The adapters are just like an accessory that they have to make because that enables the fans to be used in all sorts of different scenarios. So they have actually on Printables model, which you can buy, but it's a small adapter, and they are totally okay with you printing the adapter. They want you to be able to use their fans in all the scenarios that you want, and the adapter lets you do that, and it adds value to their main product. So you can really find these really interesting use cases where it makes sense for everyone. The brand is happy, the product is now better, the community is happy, the customers have added value. That, wow, this thing is like, if they're comparing between two things, they might end up going, this might be the deciding factor, like, wow, this product has 10 free accessories that I can 3D print. That's awesome.
This is exactly what I'm thinking every time, because like, for example, our most recent launch, which we already also have on Printables, which is the Flex Power Tools. It's crazy. This is so cool if you're buying some kind of hardware and you get really well designed, customizable accessories for your home to store it, to improve it, to really enhance the experience of the usage.
Yes.
And the problem is, what I sometimes have, that people that are making those decisions on the brand side, if they're not coming from this additive manufacturing perspective, or like as a hobby or something, for them it's very hard to imagine. And I see the same thing also, like when you were talking about IP on this creative industries.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the models that you've uploaded for all the brands that you've done. But for example, yeah, Flex Tools, it's awesome. If I was building a workshop, having official models that fit the batteries and all the accessories, and I can put them on a pegboard. Yes, the community is supplying. There's demand. There's obviously a huge demand, and
like, is DIY one of the top 3 categories among printables?
Yeah, sure. All the practical and these little, it can be a little thing, but yeah, sure.
Yeah.
There's a huge demand, and up until now, it was served by the community itself. A person had the tools, so they designed for their own workshop all the holders, and they just shared it for free. But of course, that's a mixed bag. Some models will fit, some might not. One person's use case might not fit the other one. So if you have some official models, that's just usually a better experience.
Yeah, crazy. And for me, when you were talking about those brand worlds or universes, this makes even more sense, because when I was a kid, and you still had I don't know if it still exists, probably the kids meal at McDonald's.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason I wanted to have it was because there was always a toy from the most recent movie I was watching.
Yes, that's true.
And this was like a promotion channel.
Yeah.
And now it's even easier. One of those franchises can get people to print it themselves without even going through the doors of McDonald's.
Yes, and these studios and all these companies, they usually they have the content. Very often they have it because they've prototyped on it. They when they were developing the characters and everything for the movies and games. And at the same time, this doesn't have to eat into their sales at all. They can have the thing
No.
like expensive, very well done things that they sell, but at the same time they can have either different characters or different poses, just something that the person will make at home. And of course it will not be hand painted unless they hand paint it, but that can be a ton of fun. So these two can totally coexist side by side. And yeah, I'm always, when I'm talking to the brands, they always will come up with like, oh, we actually have this content, we're just not using it, it's just sitting on our hard drives, not doing anything.
That's really sad. But we on our side are trying to change that a bit, and
Yes.
I'm like really happy that you on your side are doing a lot for changing that.
Thank you.
So I'm eyeing on the time. I'm still trying to stay in those 30 minutes. Of course, it's not going to work, but let's stick to two questions. So the one is from your perspective, like where do you see the role of the marketplaces going in the future? Because as of now, it was very much like in this hobby side, not peer to peer, but one creator giving it to many others.
Mm-hmm. So I think like we're getting to the stage where 3D printers are pretty common. Almost everyone's heard about them. A lot of people have seen them. Some people are selling the prints. So I think like we're getting there where I can imagine copy shops on the corner of your street, but it being a 3D printing, copy store. So you don't have the machine at home, but you just want to 3D print something. You get it there locally without the shipping and everything. And that kind of needs to tie in with commercial licenses. So I think it's already there, but I think this will develop a bit more. Maybe the model will be free, but if you want to make money selling it, then you will buy a commercial license for the model. And
it's really funny because we had the previous episode before this one will be with Uriah from QB3D, who are focusing on commercial licenses and exactly for print shops.
Yeah.
So really funny that you mentioned that one.
I hope that will happen. I would love to have these kind of places. Maybe they will have an inventory of things that are just very popular, so they have in stock. They are printing them overnight, and then for some extra charge, you could do custom jobs, and it would be very natural for them to also contract or have some people in house who can do 3D modeling. So you bring them their a broken thing or something, and you will pay the designer, and he will make custom part for you. I can see that happening.
Definitely. Let's hope so. Okay, let's get to the last question. This is always the same, and basically, from what you are seeing on the Prusa research side, on the Printables side, what's the one thing that most people are currently still absolutely underestimating? What's going to change significantly in the next years?
It's a very tough question. I don't think I have I don't have one thing that would pop up in my mind, but it feels like the market is going where the 3D printers are easier and easier to use. So eventually, I hope that my grandma will be able to use it. That would be great. I think slicing is very underestimated. Companies are going to great lengths to speed up their print by 20%. When you make some small change in the slicing engine, and you get bigger speed up without usually any compromise in quality. Sometimes the quality is even better. I think slicing is very, very overlooked. People just see it as the necessary step, as like conversion. But yeah, what we're seeing with Prusa Slicer, you make one small change and you just take the same project files, you reslice them in the same version, and suddenly you can put out 10% more parts from the farm because the print is just faster, nicer, tougher.
Yeah.
So yeah, that, and I guess I don't know, maybe the polymers that are being used. I can see a lot of development there, and I think maybe some I totally can see some breakthroughs in the near future, when more polymers that are easy to print but have these like fantastic properties which we couldn't even imagine, and that could change a lot of the applications for 3D printing.
All right, nice. So I'll take home slicing and the polymer side of additive manufacturing. All right, so Mikolas, thanks so much. It was really great getting some insights into a marketplace and the different dots you are connecting with it and where things are going. So thank you very much for taking the time.
Thank you so much for having me. This was great.